Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This time I'm gonna show you how to create a content calendar using Airtable. I will structure this video into separate parts. In the first part, I'm gonna show you how Airtable works, just so that you are familiar with the words I'm using and with the setup of the tool. And in the second part, I will walk you through the actual content calendar setup. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and give this video a like. Okay, let's get started. What you're seeing now on my screen is Airtable, and this view is called a base. It's basically a database and it's the main workspace in Airtable. On the left sidebar, you see a couple of elements, and these are called views. So we have a grid view, Kanban view, calendar view, gallery, and so on. At the bottom on the sidebar, you can see that you can add new views to personalize your workspace. At the top, you see the name of this base, in my case, Content Calendar. And then you see that I have first the data that I use in this workspace. Then I have automations and interfaces. Automations are basically automated workflows that you can create with Airtable, and interfaces are similar to dashboards. I will show you both automations and interfaces immediately. I will first walk you through the different views. What you see here is the grid view. For the content calendar, I prefer to use this view because I have the big picture in one view and I can easily open and close, group elements, filter fields, and so on. You can personalize the grid view by clicking here at the top and choosing if you want this to be a collaborative view, a personal one, or a locked view. You can rename it, add a description, and duplicate it. Also, you can easily download the data in CSV format. If you want to share one of these views, you can go here to share and sync, and you can choose to share it by link, or you can embed it in another tool. You can also share your entire workspace by going at the top at the workspace name, and then clicking this icon. And you see that you can share your full base or only a view of the base. If you want to only share the grid view, for example, you can do it here, or you can select another view. And you can decide if people can copy data out of this view or not. Similarly, if you want to share the full base, you can either invite people by email or create a public link. And again, you can choose to let viewers to copy data or not. Next, we have the Kanban view. For this particular one, I like to group the content by status, so to do, sent to writer, in progress, and so on. But you can easily change that by going here to the top and selecting another field. For example, I could also group this content by month, and then I see what content I need to create each month. You can also customize the information that you see on each card by going to Customize Cards at the top. Let's say that I want to see the status, the writer, and the month, and the go live date as well. You see that now my cards display all the information that I just selected. Finally, let's say that I want to filter and see only the content that has the status to do. I could also do that here at the top by filtering. And now if I don't want to only see this content that is on to do, I can remove the filter. Moving on, we have the calendar view. And here you see that I already have two articles that have dates assigned. I'm using the go live date as the main criteria for filtering the content. And if I want to schedule another piece of content, I can easily drag and drop it from the right side. Again, you can customize the calendar view here at the top and decide if you want to share it, if you want to display more information. But for this particular view, I like to have minimum information on the cards. So we have the gallery view. This one is very similar to the Kanban view, only that it doesn't group content by status. It just shows you all that you need to create. And in this case, I filtered it so that I only see the content I need to produce in January. But if I remove this filter, you see that now I have all the content that's in my calendar. Of course, this is all dummy data. Next, we have the timeline view. This timeline, Gantt, and list are quite similar. The timeline view just shows you all the content that you need to produce. For now, I only have a couple of articles with dates assigned. So you see that this one, for example, has a start date but no end date, so I just see the start date. And the Gantt view is quite similar, but if you would have dependencies and subtasks, you would see those reflected here as well. For the purpose of this tutorial, I kept it very simple, so there are no subtasks, no dependencies, only the article titles. Finally, we have the list view, where we see the same content that the grid view shows, so a similar type of view, but the information is a bit more compact, so you can easily see everything in one view. For day-to-day operations, I like to use the grid view just because it gives me all the information that I need super fast. Now I will show you automations and interfaces, and then we get back to the actual content calendar structure. So here under data, I have all the data that you've seen now and the different views. Next we have automations. You can see here that I already have an automation created. This one sends an email when the status of an article becomes sent to writer. I'm going to show you how to create this automation, but first, if you want to create a new one, you can go here to create automation and just click to add a new one. I will show you now how these automations work. As you can see, we have a trigger and an action. The trigger for this case is when a record matches a condition, and the action is send an email. So let's see first the condition. You see that here, I said that when a record matches a specific condition, meaning that in this view, in the calendar view, the status of content changes to send to writer, then I want this particular action to happen. So when an article is sent to writer, I want to send an email to the writer. I named this action send outline to writer just to know and to keep things organized. And here is the configuration. So this action runs always, meaning that once I turn on this workflow here, every time the status changes to send to writer, an email will be sent. Here you see the configuration. So I want to send the email to the writer email. This variable comes from the table that you saw earlier. So I could click here and select another field. But of course, if I'm going to send an email, it makes sense that the field is an email address. So I selected the writer email field. Then I clicked here to show more options because I want to always send an email to myself as well, so that I know that the writer did receive the email. Next, we have the subject line. I like to keep it simple, so I just said that when an outline is ready, I'm going to notify the writer and just say, a new outline is ready and this is the article. Again, the article title is a variable. Then we have the email body. Hey writer, a new article outline is ready, please see below, and here I added the outline URL. Here's the link for the draft content, tentative due date, and let me know if this doesn't work for you. This is all. I could also add attachments if I wanted to, but for this particular use case, I don't need to. Now I just want to generate a preview to make sure that everything works well. So you can see that this email was now sent to this email address. I just use mine for the purpose of this tutorial. The sender is myself and the subject is what we had in the field. So hey writer, the outline is ready, and so on. So this is how automations work. If you go here to run history, you can see if everything is good and how many times this email was triggered. And then you can also test automations by clicking here, select a record. I will select the first one because this is the only one with an actual email address attached. And I can click run automation. Now you see that the automation test has completed. And if I now go to my email, you see that I actually did receive this email via Airtable. Automation is ready. Now let's go to interfaces. As I said, these interfaces are just dashboards or reports that you can create if you want to see the status or your content pipeline. For this tutorial, I kept it simple and added only a couple of things. So I want to see how much content I have for the top, middle, and bottom of funnel, and then what kind of content I am producing, what content types. These two graphics show the same information but into different views. If I want to add more reports or more dashboards, I can go here to Edit and click Add Element. I want to add a new chart, and you can just drag and drop it here wherever you want it placed. And then I want this chart to be, a pie, let's say. I get the data from this table, from the calendar table. I want to see all the records, and I want to see how much content I need to create every month. So you see that most of my content is in February, then January, March, and so on. Now, if I'm done, I can click here, Publish. And now you see that the new graph has been added to my interface. I find this kind of reports really useful, especially if you create a lot of content and you want to have a simplified view. Now, if I go back here, you see that I can also view the data that I'm using, and it's basically sending us back to the data view. Okay, we're done with the Airtable overview. Now I'm going to get into the actual content calendar. I will walk you through these different columns, but first I want to show you how I group the content and what filters I use. I like to group it first by month and then by content type. And I do this because it gives me a very good overview of what types of content I need to create every month. So for example, if I know that in January I need to create a playbook, a webinar, and an industry page, I know that these require different resources. Some are more intensive and some require maybe external collaborators. So I can easily decide how much content we can create in a month and how much external help I need. These are the main two groupings that I use. Generally, I don't filter things unless I need to see, for example, how busy one specific writer is, but I prefer to do that with interfaces. So now let's look at the actual setup. We have first the article title, then the URL of the article, the status, writer, writer email, the month, the due date for the draft and the go live date, outline URL, draft URL, content type, content topic, use case, search intent, funnel stage, target keyword, volume of the keyword, and difficulty of the target keyword. I don't add media files here, but you could have another column, for example, for your webinar links or if you have images for your blog and so on. But I prefer to do that when I actually publish the content. Most of these columns have a simple structure and are quite straightforward. Article title is a long text, URL has the type URL, status is a single select column. And if I want to add more statuses, I can click here Edit Field and add whatever new option I want. In general, I use to do, send to writer, in progress, in review, done, published, and to optimize. These are more than enough to cover all my content needs. Next is the name of the writer and the writer email. For months, I like to use a number in front just because it keeps everything clean and organized in this view. Then we have the draft date and the go live date. Then for the content type, I have again a list of options that you can select from. And these are all the different content types that we can produce. Content topics are the main themes or topics that you want to cover in your content. Then the use case is the use case of the product. I usually work with B2B SaaS companies, so it's either use case or it could be industry or it could be product pillar, but I like to have one column for this type of information. Then the search intent. I usually use these different intents, so learning about the solution, finding a tool, learning about the tool, seeing examples, or learning about the topic. Then for funnel stage, I have top, middle, and bottom of the funnel. Target keyword is of course the keyword and volume and difficulty of this target keyword. This is the setup that I usually use both for personal work and when I work with a new client or in-house for a company. I hope you found this useful and I hope to see you in the next video. Don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to my channel for new content. If you want to learn how to automatically create all this content using Airtable and ChatGPT, I'm gonna link another video under this one. Thanks again for watching.